Hi, and welcome back to another Savantis Fast Class. I'm Emily, a marketing consultant at Savantis. A few weeks ago, we touched on part one of this Fast Class covering real-time marketing in Dynamics 365. In part one, we went over the engagement and the audience areas of real-time marketing and touched on things like customer journeys, triggers, analytics, contacts, and consent, and segments. In this class, we'll be covering channels and assets and how to use them in the context of real-time marketing. Let's log into Dynamics 365 Marketing, and we'll expand the menu here in the bottom left corner and select Real-Time Marketing. Like I mentioned just a second ago, we already covered engagement and audience in part one. So today's class, we're going to start with channels, and then we're going to move into assets. First off, under channels, let's start with emails. In general, the email builder in real-time marketing looks the same as the outbound marketing email builder, but there are a few differences you'll still need to be aware of. I'm going to create a new email so we can walk through the process together. And I am going to skip a template for now. And so we can see the email builder here. Just like the outbound marketing email builder, I can drag and drop elements into the email body, but I have a few options here on the right-hand tab of this panel. There are two tabs that I'd like to go over here. First is the personalized tab, and the second one is the email header tab. Personalize is where I'll be able to add conditions to tailor the emails to my recipients based on certain attributes or segment membership. So I'm going to go ahead and add a condition, and I'm going to title it New York Contacts. I have no spaces here, and make this condition based on segment membership. Now I'm going to add a segment, New York Contacts, and save. There are a lot of different options here if you want to narrow down your personalization to certain attributes based off your audience details or triggers. Now, the other thing I want to point out here is compliance. Real-time emails require your company address and a preference center. So here, the company address and an unsubscribe link are automatically added to the email footer. If you click in this email header tab on the panel, you'll see some sending settings. Only a system admin can change these, but you can set a default reply to address, as well as your company address that will be added to the footer. There's another compliance piece I want to touch on with real-time marketing emails as well. If you remember what we covered in the last FAST class regarding recipient consent, when creating new emails, you'll have to indicate what type of designation the message is. Is it commercial or transactional? Here in the email settings, this is the drop-down area where you'll be able to do that. New emails are by default set to commercial and therefore will only be sent to recipients that have opted in to receive marketing emails. Think of commercial emails as your standard marketing content that are sent out with journeys. Transactional emails are things related to like a monthly bill or a purchase confirmation. These are things that relate directly to transactions that have occurred and that the customer will need to receive no matter if they've opted into marketing emails or not. Besides these elements, there aren't a ton of differences between a real-time and a standard outbound marketing email. And you can use emails created in outbound in real-time marketing area as well. So that keeps things pretty simple. Let's move on to another communication channel you can utilize in real-time marketing, which is forms. All right, so I'm under channels and forms. This is the real-time marketing form area where I can gather information for current contacts or for new leads. I'm going to go ahead and create a new form here so we can see the process. And I'll title it. And you'll see here, I have to select either contacts or a lead for my target audience for this form, which varies from how I begin setup for forms in outbound. Contact forms will update records if an existing contact submits a form, and lead forms will create a new lead record when a form is submitted. So I'm going to go ahead and choose lead form for this one, and I'm also going to skip templates. So this is a drag and drop email builder, just like the email builder. And you can see here that there are a lot of fields available for me to use. Since I'm using this form to capture new leads, I have a few fields in mind that I'll use to capture the information I want, which is the contact's first and last name, email address, and permissions to send them marketing emails. So to make that easy, I'm just going to use the search field here. And then I'm going to drag and drop them into the builder. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to make sure each one is required. And I'm also going to change a few settings here and there. So let's get to it. First one we want to do is first name. Drag that into the email builder, or into the form builder, excuse me. And let's make that required. Now let's do last name. There we go. Let's get all of our fields in here to begin with. Next, we'll do email. And then we're going to do permissions. And whoops, I'm going to make email required as well. So we'll go down here and make it required. So next one that we're going to do is permissions. And so I'm going to search for marketing material. Drop that here. All right, let's just add a couple more things that we're going to implement throughout the form. I'll click consent and I'll explain that in a minute, don't you worry. And then a submit button. All right, so you can see it's starting to look a little bit like a form that we're used to, but I want to make a couple of edits here. So first and foremost, I want to make sure that first and last name here are actually on the same line. There's no need to separate it. So I'll actually create a 2-column section here, and I'll use this button to drag and drop it where I want. There we go. Beautiful. And so now for our, if we're looking at alignment, I can see that the first and last name are actually not aligned on the left side with the email. So I can actually change that. If I move into the column settings and spacing, we can change that, and you can see that now it's aligned. That's awesome. For the email section here as well, I'm also going to add placeholder text. So right now it just says email, but I'm just going to do, I'm just going to do example@email.com. The placeholder text actually varies from the default value. And it's important that if you have a section or, a field where you want to have information go into your system, that you don't include a default value if you want each individual to add specific user-specific info, because the default value will actually transfer into the system once the form is submitted if nothing is changed about it. But the placeholder text is actually a blank space. So if I were to go into the preview and test section here, if I were to click into here, nothing would be there, and I wouldn't have to delete the example@email.com. I would actually just be able to type it kind of over top. But if I were to change that to the default value, and then jump in here to try to change it, you can see that information is actually populated that would be submitted into this system with the form. So we're not going to do that here. Just leave that as is. We also have a couple other properties that we can check into. We can set a maximum character length, probably not the best idea for an email field because emails can be really long, but we might have some situations where we would want to do that. And we can also do validation or hide the field. So depending on the field that you're using, what the form is for, you may end up adding or changing these properties, but I'm not going to do anything with them currently. And now let's move into marketing materials. So this is where I will be gathering the permission to send them like bulk emails, marketing emails through real-time journeys. So marketing materials, if they allow us to send them information, will actually show up in the lead record under details. You can see that it'll appear right here, either do not send or send. So this form, we want them to allow us to send it, but this information, the way that we say it is kind of a little vague. So we're actually going to change the wording here, which we can definitely do. We can also change the options here. Do not send or send. So I will say, instead of do not send, I'll say no. And instead of send, I'll say yes. And we can set a default value here. You can see that it's already clicked to yes, but I want to do kind of a double affirmation. So I'm not going to have a default value. I'm going to make them click yes or no. And of course, we can make this required, which I'll do. I want them to answer one way or the other if we can send them information or not. All right, now finally, we can move on to this last consent section that we added here. And again, this is actually a different area. We're not going to get it from the fields, but we got it from elements like I showed you here. When someone checks this box, it's affirming consent, and that consent shows up in the consent center, which is right here. It will generate a new line per email, per phone number. So every email or phone number that is submitted, it gets a whole new line with different consent that has to be opted into. In addition, if a email or a phone number is connected to a contact, go over to contacts, that these preferences are going to show up in the contact point preferences area under details. So I'll just hop there now. And then we have contact point preferences. So for this user, nothing is set. So we can go ahead and set that if we want to now. But if they did have consent lines in the consent center for this same email or phone number, Alva, then it would pull over and show here that that's also in the consent center. So if we go back to the form, I'm going to change this language here because obviously it's not quite clear enough to get us through. So I'm going to change it to something like, I want to receive updates, newsletters, and other notifications from Savantis. All right, so we're going to be very clear about what we're going to send them. And it's kind of like a double opt-in thing. Again, we're asking for that really explicit permission. Not only are they telling us that that they're going to receive emails from us and they're okay with that, but that they also want to receive that. So it's, again, that like double, is this okay? And then again, this area, the marketing materials, that's going to show up within the lead record. And this checkbox is going to show up in the consent center. And then we can also update consent for phone numbers if we wanted to send text messages. If I were to do that, I would include a field here for a phone number. I'm not going to do that right now, so we're good to go here. And finally, I just wanted to clarify, we always want to have a submit button so that they can get the form to us. All right, so now I will preview it to make sure that it looks how I want it to. It looks really good on the desktop. I can see what it looks like on mobile. That looks fine. This looks fine. All right, so done with design for the most part. And I want to also let you know that we can play with stuff like font size, colors for the text. If we wanted to, I'm not going to do that right now, but we can also do things here if we click on elements, like adding a text box for like a title and some information at the beginning of the form. We can also add things like images, CAPTCHA to help prevent bots or spam submissions, and then even stuff like a divider to split up the design of the form. Before we finish up here, I want to peek at the form settings. So you can see what we can do upon submissions. So first, we can either choose to update a record based on the email that was entered into the form, or we can always create a new record. We can also create a custom thank you after they submit the form, and an error note if the submission doesn't work. And we can even redirect the person to a different URL if upon submission we want to send them somewhere else. So that might be nice to send these new leads straight to our homepage, perhaps on our website, or in the case of a more targeted form, we could pop them over to a really relevant page on our site. So if we created a form to inquire about prices for a certain product, we could send them right over to that product page on our site. One cool thing that I want to say about real-time forms as well as we're wrapping up here is that it doesn't actually need to host on its own page. So if I go ahead and publish here, I actually have the ability to generate an embeddable code snippet once it's published. I can also use these forms as triggers in real-time journeys. If a form is submitted, it can begin a journey or get an already started journey moving again. So that's two very cool things about real-time forms. Let's go ahead and move on to push notifications, which are a great tool for organizations who have their own app as a part of a customer engagement strategy. If you have your own app linked into D365, this is where you're going to be able to send those targeted notifications through the app directly to your customers' devices. It's going to pop up, and then if they have sound on, it'll maybe ding as well to let you know that have a notification. I'm going to go ahead and look at this one that I already created, 40% off online orders. And so we can pick a name, which is to help us organize it internally. And then we can have title, subtitle, and a message. Remember that it's all about conciseness. When we first create this, there is actually character limits for all of these elements here. So remember to keep it short, concise, and memorable. A well-crafted notification can inspire a customer to open the app and make a purchase right from their device, which is what this click behavior is going to have us do. But we can also set it to do in-app, to open in the browser as well instead of in the application. So we can do that. And we can also preview it on iOS or on Android to see what it's going to look like. Let's go ahead and move on to text messages. Like the push notifications, sending out text messages is another way to reach customers on their mobile phones. If contacts have given you their phone number and opted in to receive text messages from you, you can get in touch with them quickly and prompt action on their end. These are great for things like communicating order tracking or discount codes and flash sales. Another way text can be used effectively is for a city or municipality to notify residents of parking restrictions, for example, upcoming events or other pertinent information. Note that, like emails, you'll have to indicate if this is a commercial or a transactional message, and your consent settings will also apply here. Push notifications and texts can also be used as actions in real-time customer journeys, making them another tool for you to use as you craft a well-thought-out, timely outreach strategy. All right, the last tool in channels is more channels. Because of the way that Dynamics 365 has been developed, and the API can be used to connect to just about any other system you need. So you can use this more channels piece to create, send, and analyze messages sent with other methods of communication like WhatsApp, specific local SMS providers, or other apps to send email, push, or SMS messages to your recipients. Your system admin, will be able to manually add custom channels. And if you're interested in a Savantis consultant helping you out, you can definitely do that. Just get in touch. Creating and using messages through a custom channel works similarly to the other channels that we've already covered, and you can use your custom channel as an action point in customer journeys as well. So don't have any of these to show you, but once the actual custom channel is set up, it works quite a bit like push and text messages. Now that we've covered channels, let's go ahead and move on to assets. And we're going to go ahead and start with the assets library. Real-time marketing used to use an add-on to store your images, videos, and files, but that feature has been depreciated, and by the end of June 2023, marketing will use a single unified assets library that can be used in both real-time and outbound marketing. If you use the library add-on, you probably have already noticed that you are migrated over to this unified library, but don't worry, all of your files are still accessible. Things like recent emails, templates, and content blocks that were linked to your assets are still updated as well. In general, you'll want to use your asset library to organize the media you upload to D365 Marketing. And some best practices include tagging your uploads so you can search and filter by keywords. This is something that we mentioned in previous FAST class. I believe it's called What's Included in Dynamics 365 Marketing Content tab. And we're going to go ahead and link that here for you if you want to watch that for some additional information there. All right, let's move on to templates. The templates area is where you can build templates for your real-time emails to quickly send out messaging. These templates aren't too different from the standard outbound email templates, but you'll notice that the company address and unsubscribe list are automatically added to each template's footer. So we'll go ahead and jump into the Black Friday one to demo that. Scroll way down, you can see that the company address and unsubscribe are added here. Templates are really helpful for recurring customer activities like abandoned carts, event invitations, sales or discount codes, or shipping confirmations. And we've already seen templates in the outbound area when we did that explainer video, the last one of the previous FAST classes. So there's not too much to say about templates here, but something that is a little bit different is task templates, which we'll jump over to. So these are templates that you can set up for different tasks that you'll utilize when working within Dynamics 365 Marketing. Creating tasks can help you and your team stay on top of activities in your to-do list, and they can be accessed under the My Work section in outbound marketing. They're a tool that can be used internally to manage pertinent marketing activities, but note that even if you create a task within a real-time marketing area, it doesn't separate it or label differently from tasks created while you're working in outbound. All right, let's jump down to the last one, which is content blocks. Content blocks are a great way to ensure that frequently used information and elements can be reused over and over again in your emails without rebuilding them each time. Content blocks can be used in your real-time emails, whether they be in a journey or one-off email sends. And just like in outbound marketing, this is a drag and drop designer. So you can move items within the canvas, and then you can format them however you want to, and then add whatever content you want. But one difference that I do want to point out to you is the personalization options. Just like the real-time email builder, you have a lot of different areas to personalize. You can set conditions based on attributes or segments, and then drill into things like when leads are created with permission to send marketing emails, or if a lead or if a record has been modified by one of your users, or if they want to live, or if they live within a specified postal code, for example. So many options here. You can get quite granular with these conditions, which allow you to fine-tune your real-time marketing efforts to your recipients. And like outbound marketing, content blocks, you'll want to keep in mind that content blocks can be edited while in a draft state, But as soon as it's set to live, or in this case, ready to send, it's not dynamic and it doesn't update in any of the emails that it's already in. So to apply updates to a content block, you're going to have to edit, make it live again, and then delete it from any emails that it's in currently, and then re-add that content block that has been updated. So we did cover content blocks in the What's Included in Dynamics 365 Marketing Content tab fast class that we did a couple of months ago. So you can get another overview of that if you want to go back and watch the recording. All right, so that's everything in real-time marketing. We've covered a lot over the last two parts of this class, everything from real-time journeys and triggers to segments, emails, forms, and managing your asset library and consents. Thanks again for joining us for today's fast class. We hope to see you again next week when we discuss dimensions within Business Central. Thanks for joining us.